All right, welcome everyone. How we doing? Good evening, good afternoon, depending on whichever part of the world that you're in. Welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about retrospective techniques. Talking with a couple of people, I realized that this is one question that comes out during their interview, and a few people struggle on it, even though they know what retrospective is. There's so many questions that come up to say, oh, so tell me about your favorite retrospective technique. We don't want you to be unaware when those kind of questions come. So you can always have maybe 2 or 3 retrospective techniques that you're going to have in your mind, have on your notes, and have handy. So when you're asked the question, it's easy for you to talk about it. All right, so what is sprint retrospective? Push back a little. There are a couple of ceremonies that we do have under Scrum that you have to do every sprint or every iteration. If you have a 2-week cadence, a 2-week sprint, you're still going to do a sprint retrospective too as well. If you have a 3-week cadence or a 3-week sprint or iteration, you're going to do a sprint retrospective too as well. So sprint retrospective is a time set aside to discuss how a Scrum team is performing in terms of its products or projects, and why the team is performing in this way, and how the team can improve. No matter how high performing your team is, matured your team is, there's always room for growth. So how do we do this checks and balances when the team is working? While improvement should be continuous, it is important to set aside time specifically for reflection. Aside the team, it also works for us. Are we doing retrospective on ourselves? For people who are interviewing right now, are you doing retrospective on yourself? Are you recording your sessions and listening to them to see, oh, I think I could do better here. Oh, I think I should have answered this question very well. Or you're interviewing and you're not getting calls, or you're getting calls and you're just stuck on the recruiter stage. You haven't moved to the next stage. You need to do a retrospective on yourself. This sprint retrospective occurs at the end of each circle in which project work is completed or known as sprint. The intent is to be honest, open, reflective, with the goal of becoming better, both individually and collectively. Retrospective. How do you think we did? Good? Bad? Too many distractions? PO didn't mess with our plans? All bugs were checked in on time? What are we going to talk about? What do we need to improve on? And what do we need to appreciate the team for doing? Sprint retrospective format. The retrospective meeting format is one that should be relaxed and safe environment where the Scrum team can be honest. People ask this question: who should attend a sprint retrospective? Should we have managers there? Should we have leaders there? Should we have management there? It is important that what is brought up in the meeting does not leave the meeting. What happens there stays there. Each person should be able to speak freely. So imagine if you have invited a developer's manager to the retrospective meeting. Do you think they'll be able to speak freely? Food for thought. The meeting is more valuable the more people participate. The discussion includes 3 areas that should be reviewed in some way. What worked well this sprint that we wish to continue doing? What didn't work well this sprint that we should stop doing? What should we start doing or improve? These could be related to work, the process, the approach to work, team members, or any combination of this. The value in discussing this topic is to, 1, encourage and boost the team. And by naming areas of success, the team can identify ways to continue or achieve it in other ways. What are we talking about? How are we celebrating our teams? What do we need to improve on? How we work? Is it about the process that we're using or the approach to work? Who should attend the Sprint Retrospective. Scrum practices focus on giving teams and individuals ownership of their work, very key, and accountability to the team and the organization. To further ensure the feeling of responsibility by the team, we need the full Scrum team in attendance at our retrospective. And this includes development team, the Scrum Master, the product owner. I've heard people talk about, oh no, we don't want the product owner at the retrospective because the team will not talk. But are you forgetting that the product owner is part of the Scrum team? If you have UI, UX on your team, they gotta join. As long as they're part of the team, they have to be at the retrospective. Trust is at the core of this event. And we need to hear what people are thinking if we intend to make a difference. Active listening as a Scrum Master. All right, the DONOTS for retrospective. Problem 1, lack of engagement. And there's an example here. Sydney, John, Rahul aren't paying attention. As John and Maya get into their arguments, Erica checks out. You can only imagine how the rest of the team is feeling. Everybody's just doing what they like. Problem 2, lack of alignment. While John and Maya argue about why the code base lacks quality, Erica silently didn't even agree with the premise. The team doesn't agree on the issue at hand. What is going on? Problem 3, jumping to solution. Both Maya and John jumped to solution far too fast without investigating alternatives, diving into root causes or looking at a bigger picture. Some teams have this issue. What are we going to do as a Scrum Master to solve this? To fix these issues, the team should have followed the 5-phase approach to effective agile retrospective. What are these 5 approaches? Let's take a look. So Sprint Retrospective has 5 stages and presented by the book Agile Retrospective, Making Good Teams Great by Esther and Diana. I remember very well, I posted this book on the WhatsApp community. I can bet a lot of people haven't even opened it. And the magic is in there. So there are 5 stages. First stage, setting the stage, gather data, generate insights, decide on what to do, and close the retrospective. What does it mean when you set the stage? The goal of the first phase is to bring to mind the team to a retrospective meeting so they can focus at hand. A lot of people will still be on their laptops working or trying to solve another issue when the retrospective starts, because they're so engrossed in maybe the bug they're trying to fix or the code base that they're like trying to boost, so they're not paying attention. What is our role as a Scrum Master when this happens? You want to set an environment where everyone feels safe to speak. Everyone should be in a state that he feels he wants to contribute his thoughts and his ideas as much as possible. Every voice counts. People have been working on other tasks just a few minutes before they had to stop and go to the retrospective meeting. Yes, they're engrossed in other things that have taken their mind. Their mind is still filled with the thoughts of the previous task, trying to solve that bug or trying to debug an issue. For example, one team member might still be thinking hard on how to solve the bug he's currently working on. The goal for you as the Scrum Master is to bring the focus of the team to the work at hand. Everyone has to participate in this. Second stage is gather data. The goal of this phase is to bring the facts of the sprint to the table so that every participant has the same picture of what happened during the iteration. Remember that iteration is also known as the sprint. You can split this phase into 2 steps. The first one talks about the hard facts and statistics, While the second one, you get insights and personal opinion from each individual to generate a complete picture. What are examples of these hard facts that you can get? What are the data that you can get? The burn down chart is one of the data you could get. The number of committed stories versus achieved is another hard fact that you can get. A couple of other ones you can also get. You can try the happiness matrix. How was the sprint to them? They would have probably taken a poll before retrospective, and you could show them how that works. And then the second part is where you get the personal opinion. With the facts on the table, you gather the data phase is to collect personal opinion and feeling of each individual. It is important that everyone has a voice. The talking toms are going to try to overshadow the silent Johns, but everybody's opinion counts. So we use this format, which gives each individual some time to think about their own and express his or her own opinion. Very key. Everyone's opinion counts. General insight. Here, we're going to dig deeper into at least one of the subjects from the previous phase. We want to uncover what the root cause is, why certain things happen. Then we want to find options for a possible solution. We can also split this phase into two. The first step, we decide on which particular subject we want to select. So we have a focus point on one specific subject, rather than talking about multiple topics at the same time. Second step, we dive deeper into that selected subject to find the root cause. Fourth stage, we decide what to do. The goal, to create action items to improve the next sprint or iteration. You identify a list of possible root causes of the problems and potential solutions. You do not tell the team what to do, you ask them what the solution should be. Now you want to decide what you want to do differently the next sprint. You create a list of action items and what you want to do differently. When creating these action items, there are a couple of things you want to keep in mind. One, make action items actionable. Two, make action items small, something that we can finish within the next sprint. Actionable, who's going to be accountable for it? Do not pick too many action items. Make action items visible. The last step, close the retrospective. The goal of this phase is to sum up the results of our retrospective and generally leave a good feeling behind for the participants. Everyone should leave the room with the feeling that we've achieved something useful, that the meeting was worth it. How do we do this? We sum up the results. We perform a retrospective of the retrospective session. What does that mean? You're asking the team, how did this retrospective go? Did we get value out of it? Is there anything we can improve on this retrospective going forward? You thank everyone and you let them go. What is the benefit of a retrospective? The first thing it does is enhance collaboration, communication, trust, and team spirit. Very important. A stronger ability to identify how to improve our processes, growth. Improve team productivity. What are they doing together that is driving that productivity? A greater occurrence of lesson learned within the team. How can we do better? What are the things we need to improve on? An ability to prevent past mistakes from happening in the nearest future. What are the things that have happened this spring that we can actually avoid from happening next sprint? Better anticipation of future problem. oh, we've been through this before. This was how we solved it because we talked about it at the retrospective. So we're going to use the same format for this particular new problem that we have, growth for the team. All right, there are a few theme samples that I'm going to share today. They're the regular ones, the traditional one, which is what went well, what didn't go well, what are the action items. This is an original, traditional retrospective. But because we're going to keep doing this every iteration, you want to spice up your retrospective. It becomes boring if it's the same thing over and over and over again. And there's so many materials online for retrospective. You will be shocked what you can find. Add a little spice to your retrospective with your team. Change it, switch it up. Then it starts to get better. It's not going to be boring for them. So this is the traditional one that you will see. And then a few ones that I was able to crop for you. So there's one called the 6 hearts. It's a template too. It has the blue heart. What happens during the blue heart? What do we want to achieve in this session? White heart, the yellow heart. What was good about the last sprint? Black heart. What was bad about the last sprint? Green heart. What things can we improve on for our next sprint? And then red heart. What's your overall feeling about the previous sprint? Guess what? As a Scrum Master, you could actually buy one of these hearts, maybe buy like a blue heart or look for another color, maybe a red heart, and just wear it during the retro and say, okay, today we're talking about the thinking heart. And as a Scrum Master, you already have one on. Your team is just going to be thinking, wow, okay, this is interesting. Spice up your retrospective. Add value, add color to it. This is rows, tons, and boards. This is another theme. What went well, rows? Which of our current practices or skills are strong? Tons. What challenges or difficulties did we run to? Board. What are the opportunities for growth and improvement? Hot hair balloon. Hot hair, sandbags, storm clouds, clear skies. Spice it up a little bit, make it fun. This is Marie Kondo. What sparks joy? Thank you and goodbye. Things to upcycle. Different themes that you can use. You just have a couple in your head, maybe 2 or 3. So when you're interviewing and they ask you a question, you could pull that out of your heart because you need it. This is the donut shop retrospective. It's all about donuts. And then you could start with your team to say, oh, I wish we were actually in person. I would have ordered this donut across board. And for everyone who fills, they get the exact type of donut that they want. Filled donuts, plain glazed, powdered sugar, coconuts, and then the ones with sprinkles. There are a lot of them, a whole lot of them. I have a couple of links that I can share that has retrospective. You save them in your archive and you can use them. So many retrospective ideas out there. All right, thank you. And then any questions?
Hello?
Go ahead, Amadou.
So this lecture will be posted online, right?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, perfect.
All right, go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, I want to ask a question for the happiness metric. Okay. For the personal stage, do you think